but really it's about embracing who you are, right?
Yeah,
And
right.
knowing that beauty is more than just superficial. It's more than it lies in the depth of your core and your values, your relationships, the societal contributions that you give, your kindness.
Welcome back. We're your hosts, Savannah
And Kaylin.
Can you please explain to us why beauty standards are so toxic?
Yeah, so beauty standards are toxic in so many different ways for so many different reasons. A lot of times, I think I alluded to this before, but like the promotion of unattainable ideals, right? Where we often, and I'm saying we, meaning society, promotes
Yes.
different physical attributes that are really impossible for some people to achieve naturally. So when you think of, like, for instance, I'm very broad shoulders, I have a very athletic kind of background, and I love my shoulders and I love my size 12 feet, right? Like, I was born with these things, I can't change them. And it wouldn't be realistic for me to shrink my frame or to cut off my toe to kind of fit in a shoe, right? So it's kind of like I can't necessarily kind of like conform to the unattainable standards that society strives to implement, right? And even now we have a really big shift. If you look at different models, even kind of on Athleta or any big brand, you'll notice that there's a lot of diversity in terms of race, ethnicity, even gender identity, body size, appearance. Like, they're embracing diversity to really have a representative sample of the entire world.
Right.
And beauty standards are toxic because a lot of times they come with this relentlessness to emphasize a specific body type or a specific skin tone or feature, or people develop like a distorted perception of their bodies and focus on their flaws instead of appreciating the natural beauty that they have. So it becomes very sabotaging and very negative, in that, there's like a mental health impact, right?
Definitely.
There's these unrealistic beauty standards, and now that can be contributing to elements of eating disorders or disordered eating. It can mean heightened anxiety. It can mean elements of depression, that we're not meeting those goals. It can mean constant comparison to others, and that can lead to emotional distress.
Yes.
And think of like the pressure to conform, right?
Yes.
People feel pressure to conform to find a sense of belonging. They feel pressure to kind of be a certain way, and that's unrealistic given where they're at, or maybe even what their body is capable of.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah. So,
and it makes me sad, because I feel like in doing so, we're erasing everything that's unique and all these features that are so unique to each person.
Absolutely.
And we're becoming clones of the same body type, beauty standards. So
yeah, absolutely. And think of also like the toxicity of the impact on our relationships, right? Like on interpersonal relationships, meaning within people, and intrapersonal, meaning within ourselves, right? We may now feel insecure. We may feel jealous in comparison to maybe a peer or a friend or a partner, right? We develop these unrealistic beauty standards in order to conform and to meet that quote unquote societal trend or what have you. And really it's that, like, there is no normal, right? In beauty, it's like we are human. I certainly didn't choose my genetics. I'm sure no human will now, with genetic testing and stuff, they may eye contact or dyeing your hair, but really it's about embracing who you are, right? And knowing that beauty is more than just superficial. It's more than it lies in the depth of your core and your values, your relationships, the societal contributions that you give, your kindness, right? Kind is beautiful. Mean is ugly, as I say. Kind is beautiful. And it's kind of really about embracing yourself and not being financially exploited by the beauty industry, right? That promises certain things and that never happens, right? So there's so much toxicity, right? That even like the objectification of your body, right? Like the influence of like sexualizing a body, like a body is not even for sex, like a body is a body is a body, and it's a vehicle to live out your experience on this earth, and just being okay with your body, right? Even though it doesn't fit that mold.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
Yeah.
Now, I know you spoke about being kind to yourself and, you know, making realistic goals when it comes to body image. Is there any other advice that you can give as far as making the best beauty decisions for us, or, you know, for the people, without basing them on today's toxic beauty standards?
Yeah. So I think the first thing is gratitude, right? Understanding that there's so much to be grateful for, and appreciating the standard that we set for ourselves, right? Like making beauty decisions in some ways that are personal and meaningful for you, and then promoting that element of self-acceptance, right? Of we all have our unique beauty, right? And that beauty is different from person to person. And a lot of times the beauty is within, right? It's like the person you are, the things that you do for yourself, for others, right? The kindness that you exude, and then prioritizing your well-being, both physically and mentally, over your appearance or the external standards of society.
That's good. I like that one.
And I feel like it's important to be vulnerable and show that side of yourself when it comes to setting, you know, non-toxic beauty standards. Because the only way that beauty standards are ever going to change is if society, not just celebrities and, you know, famous people, show that it's okay to be vulnerable with yourself and to accept yourself. And sometimes that's a big issue because, you know, we know to do these things, but then we're seeing everyone else that are still acting like, no, that's not normal. You have to look like this. So setting that example is important too, as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And knowing that, you know, in this day and age where we have a lot of social media and we have a lot of external pulls on our attention, right? Through television and magazines and movies and TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. I mean, the list goes on.
Right.
Recognizing that people, for the most part, and I'm not generalizing, but I'm saying that for the very most part, social media is portraying favorable lights of themselves. People are portraying the shiny part of that apple.
For sure.
But like when you go grocery shopping, right, you may pick up the apple and kind of twirl it around, so to speak, to make sure that it's not, you know, hold or doesn't have a worm on the other side. But a lot of times what people are doing is that like they're taking that apple and they're just showing you the shiny part, but behind that part is the human experience of perhaps suffering or difficulty or challenge, right? Whether that's intrapersonal, whether that's emotional, whether that's within their families, what have you, but they're not showing that part of them, right? So it's very much a facade. And it's really important to create awareness of, you know, there's a lot of favorable things that are being portrayed, but we're also not getting like the two sides of the coin. We're only seeing one side of the coin. It's really important for people to remember that, right? As they're sifting through media and digesting information that otherwise they would not want to digest.
Right. Also, when we go to the grocery store, I feel like a lot of the times we're thinking, what do these people think of me? What are they looking at? You know, how am I looking right now? Am I, you know, walking right? Am I just self-conscious thinking? But then you also have to think everyone else in the store is probably thinking the exact same way and focusing on themselves.
They don't care about you.
They don't care about you.
They're not paying attention.
Right.
Yeah. Calibrating that level of self-awareness, right? Like being comfortable with who you are and being authentically you, right? And maybe exuding that kindness
about it.
Yeah. And, you know, and who doesn't like a compliment, right? Of being like, oh, I remember I went to a grocery store once and like, one of the clerks on the floor, he was like, I really like your hair. And my hair was a mess, right? Like I barely like got put together to make that grocery run. Our fridge was empty and I was working hard and I was like, oh, I need some food. But he complimented me. I'm like, that sounds really great. Thank you so much. And your hair is amazing too, right? And like,
I love that.
No self-consciousness, right? Like we're all humans in the end, and just really utilizing that human experience as a ground for connection and understanding, and understanding that we don't have to adhere to any beauty standards, right? Like we should be doing it for ourselves, not for others.
Yeah, absolutely.